Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yes, that's it. Oy. It's been a heavy week. And today we say, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Praised are you, O God, ruler of the universe, who frees the captives. This week felt like an inverted Dayenu, not of gratitude, but of weariness. If only we were coping with Omicron, Dayenu, that would be enough. If only we were coping with the rise of anti-Semitism, Dayenu, that would be more than enough. The layers of vulnerabilities and exposures seem to be too many to track, and they have left many of us feeling ourselves at risk. I'll tell you how I've experienced this week as a rabbi. Throughout the pandemic, rabbis have been forced to become experts in assessing and managing risk. We work with our lay leaders and with medical professionals week after week, wave after wave, to reassess the COVID protocols for our communities. And with professional colleagues, we navigate Zoom and live stream and cameras and screens. And with our cantorial colleagues, we measure how many feet apart we should stand, and we share regular results of routine rapid tests. Dayenu. And now, after Pittsburgh and Poway and Hala and Colleyville, now that the pattern is far too well established in our own time, God help us, we must become experts in security too. Rabbi Citron Walker's first public words came through on Facebook the morning after, and he pointed to the training that he and his congregation had received as the reason, one of the reasons for their survival. And let it be noted that they escaped through that training. They were not rescued, and they were not released. They escaped. And so the next day, I wrote to the UJA leadership as the current president of the Toronto Board of Rabbis. I wrote to the UJA leadership and its security office, and I insisted that they provide rabbis and cantors and synagogue leaders everywhere across the GTA with security training. Executive directors and synagogue facilities directors and ushers, volunteers, leaders of every community needs more training. And 5 UJA professionals cleared their calendars and they came to the Toronto Board of Rabbis meeting on Wednesday afternoon, and the planning has begun for a citywide effort. That same Sunday morning, I went to a security briefing with representatives of the Anti-Defamation League, the FBI, and an organization that I'm getting to know and appreciate more and more, the SCN, the Secure Communities Network. And I shared what I learned there with leadership of Holy Blossom, including the chair of our security committee. And they've all been in regular contact with our local police, who have been very responsive in patrolling the neighborhood. And so together, this team is once again revisiting and reassessing the many layers of security that are required today. I share this with you, good people, not to frighten you, God forbid, but just the opposite. I share this with you to reassure you that the Jewish leadership across Toronto, and certainly here at Holy Blossom Temple, are taking this seriously and creating a culture of preparedness. The Talmud teaches that we do not rely upon miracles. We pray for them. We are always on the lookout for them, but we do not rely upon them. Dayenu. There's another layer of isolation and loneliness that I know the Jewish people has experienced this week. While there was great solidarity across all Jewish streams, it was very heartening to see. Across time zones, we were Am Echad, one people. As we held our breath for 11 hours, as if it were our own congregation, as if it were our own rabbi under attack, God forbid. But I admit to you, in my humble opinion, the Canadian press was too quiet. Other faith leaders were too absent. Elected officials were too silent. Why? We can't help but wonder. Why? We can blame everything on the pandemic. And I know it's true that everyone is depleted by this pandemic. There is only so much bandwidth. That's a real reason, but not a satisfying one. Some say the reason is that there were no casualties. Is Dara Horn's best-selling title right, that people love dead Jews? Some say it's because it was far off in Texas, where gun laws are fast and loose. Some say it's because non-Jews, including the FBI agent who gave an early statement saying that this attack was, quote, not specifically related to the Jewish community. Many non-Jews just don't understand that when a Jew anywhere is under threat, Jews everywhere feel it. And some say that the silence has come because the gunman's version of anti-Semitism is so widespread as a twisted kind of compliment. He really believed that the orchestrated, hate-filled conspiracy theories that have been pumped through the internet his way to be true. He believed that Jews run the world. And so if he just found the Jews nearest to the prison where his hero was incarcerated, they would be able to have her released. He failed to realize that Jews are not above the law. According to this week's Torah portion, which we just heard, we are literally under the law. Tachat hahar. Jews carry the weight of the law. We are burdened by the heaviness of the law. We break our backs shouldering the ethics of Torah-itic law. For reasons that God only knows, we were assigned the sacred task to bring to the world the law. And in synagogues everywhere today, we are chanting its words lovingly, and we rise to receive it all over again. You may have felt the shifting of your own weight in your places as you stood for what felt like a very long time this morning to receive the law. And were it not for the coronavirus, we would be dancing with our Torah law, marching through the aisles, parading it around, reaching out for it, everyone, kissing it, because that is how much we love the law, even though it can be a burden. And yes, Rabbi Goodman, I believe sometimes it is also a danger. To be the voice of the law, the emblem, the symbol of the law. It's not always easy to be a Jew. I've spent much of this week supporting rabbis, some that I know, some that I don't know. I've spent the week being supported by fellow rabbis here at Holy Blossom Temple, among the Toronto Board of Rabbis, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, my Hartman Fellowship of Rabbis, which includes one dear colleague who received that terrifying call that she would be the one to make it right for the gunman. She was also held hostage by him. I could not bring myself to listen to the recordings from Congregation Beth Israel while the gunman had the line open unknowingly. But according to the Times of Israel, it could be heard over the live stream. He said, "They let me in. I asked, is this a night shelter? And they let me in, and they gave me a cup of tea. So I do feel bad." And also he said, "I like the rabbi. He's a good guy. I bonded with him. I really like him. I've only been here a couple of hours, but I can see he's a good guy." Rabbis everywhere want their houses of God to be open to the world, shelters for anyone who is in need. And this week, rabbis have been wondering, how can we keep that spirit alive, that openness, that confidence, that welcome to anyone who needs sanctuary? One rabbi said, "To make my congregants comfortable, we've been having our doors open so there's a breeze going, so there's airflow, and they feel that they're protected from coronavirus because of that circulation of the air. But now I know we have to close those doors, and so maybe people won't come." Others struggle with having uniformed security guards, knowing that for some that can be triggering. For Jews of color, it can be unsettling. For transsexual people, it can be unsettling. But we also know that without professional security, others are unsettled. And so we hold these tensions, how to be both open and closed. These doors behind us, these heavy oak doors built in 1938, the same craftsperson who made the heavy doors at the Ram. Above them, the Lions of Judah, standing guard. This grand facade on Bathurst Street was built in the 1930s when anti-Semitism was raging in this city. And so that imposing face was a way of saying, we will not be afraid. But the heavy doors were often closed. The new entrance that we've built together recently for Holy Blossom Temple, made of glass. Very secure, I assure you, but made of glass. And inscribed into the wood are the words, Shalom Aleichem, peace unto you. Boachem l'shalom, tzeitchem, barchuni l'shalom, tzeitchem l'shalom. Arrive in peace, bless us with peace, and may you go on your way in peace. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today. It's no small thing. Your very presence speaks volumes about the Jewish spirit. You walk in a line of courageous ancestors. And were it not for the pandemic, I know this place would be packed with congregants and guests and non-Jewish neighbors and, yes, public officials and faith leaders of all stripes. I really believe that to be true. But we are a small, representative group of Holy Blossom Temple and of the Jewish people today. Deborah Lipstadt is right when she says it should not take an act of courage to go to synagogue. And yesterday, before Shabbat, when I joined yet another briefing, this one held by the White House, with representatives from the FBI again, and the Justice Department and Homeland Security, and I understand that there's a parallel briefing in the works for their Canadian counterparts, Rabbi Citron Walker was invited to speak at the end, and he spoke about Jewish joy, and he spoke about Shabbat, because no terrorist can take these from us. He used the mantra, "We are not helpless. We are not helpless." And this Shabbat we read the 10 Commandments about honoring parents and remembering grandparents. And Rabbi Citron Walker spoke of his faith which sustained him last Shabbat. And he shared his words of encouragement and affirmation. So I want to pick up the words of our bar mitzvah. In his Devar Torah, he spoke about Moses' message to our people at the mountain. He said, "Al tira'u, have no fear. Do not be afraid." And yet in our time, Amanda Gorman was writing for this week's New York Times saying, if you are alive, you're afraid. And if you're not afraid, then you're not paying attention. She admits, I'm terrified every day, and yet fear can be love, trying its best in the dark. Fear can be love, trying its best in the dark, so do not fear your fear. This young poet says, instead own it and free it. This isn't a liberation that I or anyone can give you. It's a power you must look for and learn and love and lead and locate for yourself. So that is what we find here in this sacred place at this sacred hour. A power to learn and lead and locate ourselves from fear. My final prayer for us today is that all those fears which are real, I'm not pretending them away, but that let them be matched and overwhelmed by another kind of fear. And that is what we call Yirat Shamayim, fear of heaven, reverence for God, faith in the divine, faith in the Almighty. Ki hem chayenu ve'orach yameinu. Let us embrace God's Torah and find a way to cling to these mitzvot, which are our very lives. They are the length of our days, and they are the source of our joy. We sang today in an uplifting melody. V'ha'er einenu b'toratecha. Enlighten our eyes with your Torah, O God. V'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha. So we may cling to your mitzvot. Unite all the hearts of our people to love and revere your name. Then shall we never be shamed. Then we will never be afraid, for we shall put our trust in you. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.